Hi, this is Dava Lee with the MOE Legislative Snapshot for Week 10. In the House, the committees didn't take any action on any bills that we're monitoring this week, but the floor debate was really busy. In addition to the budget, which I'll get to in a minute, the House perfected House Bill 2230, Burns's bill that would reduce screen time for students in elementary schools. There is some confusion on the inclusion of ELL students. The bill allows districts to set parameters locally and charges them to consider special education students, thinking this covers ELLs, but it doesn't. If and or when it crosses over to the Senate, we will submit informational testimony or email the committee with clarification. Senator Nuremberg is a former ELL educator and will understand. And we will oppose the bill until the ELLs are included fully. Regarding the budget, they passed out the entire budget this week to the Senate. House Bill 2002, the DESE budget, does not fully fund the foundation formula, but the chair wants credit for not cutting the funding further. That's not exactly a win. No mention was made of the amount of money going to vouchers. That's in a later bill. And we oppose this bill as written, and we're not alone. It passed with 85 votes, just three more than the constitutional majority required. That's the lowest I've seen in 5 sessions until they debated and passed the House Bill 2003, the Higher Ed Workforce Development Budget. They established a formula this year based on student hours of instruction or FTEs. It's not a perfect, it's not working the way they had hoped it would work. And it does not consider higher need majors. For example, it costs more for majors requiring labs than it does for majors that can be done just in general classrooms, or for community colleges with dual enrollment, or for special certification programs. So we oppose the budget as it currently is. And the speaker had to call absentees to get the votes to be over the 82 vote threshold. They got it all the way to 83. That is the lowest margin that we have seen. All the other budget bills passed, and we'd like to note that House Bill 2009 includes the Department of Corrections, and they cut funding for gender affirming care to prisoners out of the budget entirely. The disability portions that were cut out of the budget earlier received a large outcry from the disability community, and some of that funding has been restored. And then House Bill 2012 includes a $10 million expansion of the ESA voucher money, but he wants us to know that it's only $10 million. The Senate was a little bit opposite of the House. They didn't hear very much, they didn't hear anything on the floor that we're monitoring, but in committees, they were very busy. On Tuesday, the Education Committee heard Senate Bill 1558 by Henderson, a private school bathroom bill similar to House Bill 1893, which would protect private schools from civil liability if they gender their restrooms. They already are protected from litigation, and we traveled to Jeff City to oppose this because enforcement issues are still incredibly unclear and private schools host public events, so accountability is important. They also heard House Bill 2710 by Deal, the A to F accountability bill. We oppose this because the funding is upside down. Decile reporting does not reward the growth they think it will. A school moving from an 80% to an 88% will not receive incentives or recognition because they will still be at a B. But a district moving from 79 to 80% will receive such incentives because they've gone from a B to a C, but only shown 1% growth. The major teacher organizations oppose this bill as well. We believe in MOE that a competition model is not the appropriate model for a service like public education. Wednesday was a busy day. The Judiciary and Criminal Jurisprudence Committee heard Senate Bills 1163 by Bratton and 1467 by Nicola criminalizing drag. These bills were noticed late on Sunday. That's why they weren't in the update last week. They were noticed on, we traveled to Jeff City to oppose these bills because they harm the LGBTQ community through the insinuation that the community in general and drag specifically are inherently and only sexual. We know that this is false. It will also harm the educational theaters and community theaters across the state because the definition of an adult cabaret performance includes male and female impersonation outside of a specific club without specifically defining male and female impersonation, coupled with the phrase depicting sexual desire under prurient interests, so that a school district could be guilty of a misdemeanor or felony by performing As You Like It because Rosalind appears in drag, or because they cast a female student in a male role because not enough boys auditioned in a small school or theater program, and someone might see a cross-dressed person as sexually desirable, and it would be prurient. Sponsor Bratton noted that an amendment he added to a bill a couple years ago eliminated, quote, pornography, end quote, in libraries and schools. And we were led to believe that wouldn't be a big deal. That's already in the statute. But what that bill did was lead to preemptive culling of books across the state, a quiet unshelving from districts afraid of inadvertently violating that law. We fear that this will lead to the same thing. Districts foregoing performing Peter Pan or A Midsummer Night's Dream or not being able to find a play with few enough male roles to be able to put a production on, and theater will suffer because districts are too afraid to do those shows or act or engage in educational theater like that for fear of committing felonies. The committee also heard House Bill 3146 by Simmons, a ballot language bill that was given barely 24 hours notice, and that our partners with MOVPC call the Let Politicians Lie bill. It is the reworking of Senate Bill 22 from last session that was found unconstitutional. It is no better, and we went on the record in opposition to that. At the same time as that hearing, down on the first floor of the Capitol, Family, Seniors, and Health heard House Bill 1667 by Sites, the Born Alive Act, saying that infants surviving a failed abortion, quote unquote, must be saved. There's a lot wrong with this bill, and we submitted opposition standing with our partners at Abortion Action. With 5 minutes remaining in the hearing, they heard House Bill 2033 by Schmidt that would make the transgender health care ban permanent. They stopped in-person testimony after just a few support and opposition speakers, and they assured us that they would distribute written testimony that we left with them. We turned in our written testimony and will encourage our Democratic senators to read all that written testimony submitted into the record during debate if this bill reaches the floor. Looking ahead to week 11, for the committees, the House does not have any agendas up yet, so we can't see what they're going to be doing. And the Senate Education Committee will hear House bills next week. 1757 Shields, expanding gifted education, which we support. House Bill 2404 by Haruza, which changes deeds to be able to expand charter schools by allowing charter schools to buy up certain properties. And House Bill 2335 by Kelly, which is a teacher training video bill, trainings that everybody does at the beginning of the year that nobody really likes. Have no position on that bill. We're monitoring that bill just to make sure nothing really nasty gets added to it. As far as the floor debate goes, the House is likely to start working through some of the Senate bills that have been sent over. And as for what's going to happen in the Senate on the floor next week, well, your guess is as good as mine because they kind of do what they want to do when they want to do it.